Are you a virgin? Have you never been kissed? A 35-year-old fucking virgin, never been kissed. Yeah, that's what G-Man and I are talking about today. 35-year-old virgin. What is even the title of this video? It doesn't matter. G-Man. Shout out to G-Man, because G-Man is actually the only reason I started this in the first place. It wasn't actually a G-Man video, and this isn't a fucking tangent. I don't lose your attention span just yet. If I don't have to cut a video for 45 seconds without losing my train of thought, I'm sure you can deal with watching it. G-Man, great YouTube content creator for male advice, young and old. I've said this in multiple other videos that weren't even related or reacting to his. Subscribe to his channel. We're doing another follow along because I know quite a lot of you only subscribed and started watching my videos because of G-Man. And the only reason I'm even making videos moving forward is probably because of G-Man. And I am still subscribed to him as the only male advice influencer. Is that even a sphere? Does it have to be a sphere or a realm? Parallel universe? Doesn't fucking matter. This is a topic though that pertains to, well, 35-year-old virgins and the whole concept of attracting females, desire. How important is it that you even lose your virginity? Isn't 35-year-old virgin, in a way, we've got this connotation on it that it's a negative thing. Maybe we don't need to put a negative connotation on it. And by saying, oh, you're a 35-year-old virgin, we shouldn't automatically imply that it's a bad thing because we've watched too much American Pie growing up and we think that that's the primary damn thing. When did you lose your virginity? 16. High five, bro. Maybe it's not such a bad thing after all. I haven't watched this video, so let's watch it together. If you've already watched G-Man's video, this will still be a little bit different because I'll be cutting back and forth like this between G-Man's original video and myself. His channel will be in the description.
Boys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a video called I'm 35 years old and never had a girlfriend before. So let's jump straight into it and discuss.
Before, I'm 35 years old and I've never had a girlfriend, which I don't really feel too bad about my situation because, I mean, I know there are other guys out there who are older than me who've never had girlfriends. In fact, I know a guy personally who's 63 and he's never had a girlfriend. I mean, he's gay, but he's never had a girlfriend. But anyway, how did this happen? Well, I guess we got to go back to my early teenage years, you know, back when I was in junior high school, about 13 or so. I, like a lot of kids my age, were really getting into girls and, you know, asking girls out and going on dates and stuff. And I noticed that a lot of the other boys in school at the time were having girlfriends and stuff. But here's the problem. This is at any age, really. But if you're a guy and you want to date and you're fat and you're nerdy and you're socially awkward, that's pretty much the kiss of death if you want to have any sort of a romantic life.
Bro, I don't even know how to have a romantic life. It's a bit of story time now, but it's all relevant. So I went to, man, this camera focus is pissing me the fuck off. Went to a primary Catholic boys and girls school, and I remember my first sincere interaction with a girl. The most beautiful girl in school. I still remember her first and surname, but gosh, God forbid I say them, might be doxing. But fuck it, I'll say it. It's her name. It's public knowledge. Lydia Barker in primary school. She was the most attractive girl, I think, in primary school to every other male. And my phone, of course, starts sending me notifications as I'm talking. And the camera, again, is going in and out. What is this shit, man? Are you even worth $500? Probably like the first bit of money that I had came into a $50 note, and this would have been like a 10-year-old, and $50 back then, by back then I'm talking a good 2003-ish. It was pretty significant, and I didn't know how to make any kind of an approach. Of course, this is like a child, like an 11-year-old, 10-year-old boy making an approach, but I gave her $50, and the way I did it, it cracks me up even reliving the memory. I put it in an envelope and I snuck it in her bag. But the funny thing of the envelope is that I wrote all over the envelope all these little notes of, don't tell anyone that I gave this to you. Keep this between you and I. I find you beautiful. You're really attractive. Something along the lines of, I think you have very beautiful hair. It wasn't creepy. I don't even think it was particularly seedy. It was simply my attempt, because there was no social media and I definitely didn't get some kind of sex ed or relationship style advice from anyone when I was a 10-year-old. Mind you, I also had rather limited English and a very narrow vocabulary. Even my enunciation and pronunciation of certain words in English, like the TH, the th sound, was incorrect. I'd say go through the door, through, not through. So I struggled with that. It's like I had a lisp, because English wasn't my first language. And then she deciphered who the fuck it was that gave her the 50, and the way she gave it back to me wasn't in private like the way I snuck it into her bag to give, and went against all those little secret notes that I wrote on the envelope saying don't tell anyone. She basically handed me back the money in front of all her girlfriends, who I found, well, attractive too, but she was like the alpha attractive. And it gave me the reddest face, redder than the sunburn that I've got now, and I was so awkward and embarrassed that even now, 23 years later, I look back at it with a smile, but I could still relive that exact moment and place that it happened. So, coming back to this video, he's saying 35, I haven't had a girlfriend. My first experiences with girls was 2012. Yeah, lock it in. 2012. I was walking back to my quarters, we'll call them, on base, and I see this guy swiping on his Android. Mind you, this is also one of the first times I'm seeing someone using an Android mobile phone touchscreen device. I was still with a damn dial pad, Sony Ericsson, bro. I was still paying as you go, didn't have mobile plans, and it cost about 25 to 50 cents of your credit when you topped up your mobile phone to load a web page. I don't know what apps were. And this dude's swiping. Oh, what the hell is this? Show me. He shows me, he's like, hey man, Tinder, check it out. You swipe if you like girls left and right, and they swipe on you, and if you match, you can engage in a conversation. And he's showing me like this whole feature of radiuses, and you got like 3 super likes a week, and everything was free. All the features, now that they promote, boost wasn't a thing, but all the other features like super likes and unlimited swipes was completely free, and that whole market wasn't saturated with people, let alone bots. There was no bots. There was nothing hook, line, and sinker, no advertisements. Tinder was primed and peaking around 2012, 2013. And that was the first exposure that I got to dating and potentially meeting women online. I had just come from a home when I joined the military that basically had dial-up internet. And the most time I spent on a computer would have been in IT at school, not doing any of the IT curriculum, because I'm like, man, I'm in near a fucking computer. Google images, tits, no filter. So I go out and get an Android, and Tinder is like the main reason why I went out and bought an Android mobile phone. Now I'm thinking, to not over convolute this entire story, if I had stayed in the military, I look back, like even the postings for riflemen are places like Darwin in Australia, Townsville. Unless you get a posting to Vegas, as we called it, Brisbane, maybe, just maybe 7th Battalion, which was Adelaide, you got posted to fucking Townsville or Darwin. And in places like that, besides the infamous, is it Groove in the Moo? What's that pub in Townsville? Or is Groove in the Moo the festival? But AJ's Army Jerks is what all the guys with the short hair were known for over in Townsville, at least back then. You weren't anywhere near the big cities. The biggest city you had to the School of Infantry was Newcastle, and even then you'd only go out on weekends. My point being, if you were the kind of introverted bloke that I was that basically stayed on base, going out was one of the only ways to hook up with girls. You just wouldn't be exposed to it. And if I had stayed in the Defense Force, I could easily see myself having been 27, 28, 29 and not having gone out because it simply wasn't in my repertoire to do on weekends. Maybe I would have changed as time would have went along. But for the most part, I never wanted to go out, even at my age of 32. The most exposure I've had to nightlife is because I went into the security industry and worked as a, well, bouncer, to simplify it. And that's where I got my nightlife fill in. But if I had stayed in the Defense Force, I could very well be sitting here and saying, yeah, I'm a 27, 28, 29-year-old virgin. Who knows what fork in the road I would have taken as far as dating and relationship life goes. Because I only, bluntly putting it, had my first sexual encounter after I left the Army. It definitely wasn't in the Army, and even if I really wanted it to be, you put places like, I just mentioned, the School of Infantry. Not only is it in a secluded area here in Australia, but there's no women on base. And not only if there were women on base, is it quite a harsh punishment of fraternization, which was in the standing orders that you could not commit, you could not fraternize with female soldiers. Staff, same rank, lower rank, it didn't matter. Fraternization, well, it beckoned a charge. It was basically an offense, a military offense. And the people that I did know that got busted for fraternization, at least in 2012, if you formerly served in any area of the military, you could disagree with me, but I'm speaking from my own experience. It garnered pretty heavy punishments to the point of zero tolerance. You could be up in front of the, I wanted to say parole board, but you could be up for like board review by Canberra for discharge, like dishonorable discharge, depending on the fraternization, at least back then. That was the emphasis of severity. Some dudes would go out and do illicit substances on weekends, and I don't think they realized what pissing hot, because we did have random drug tests too, alright? If you Yannick Sin had pissed hot, no one even gave you no WADA case or trial, and if they did, man, it'd be out of pocket. And the zero tolerance was that high that you would just get dishonorably discharged eventually anyway, and probably blow a shit ton of your money, your remaining fortnightly earnings, trying to fight it. That's going off topic, but being a 35-year-old virgin, it also depends what kind of a scenario you were in. To have maybe not even been afforded or had the privilege, we'll use buzzwords, to have placed yourself in a position to even get with girls. But I doubt that's the case with this guy. But I'm speaking from my own personal experience. When I first saw Tinder and how Tinder actually led to my first sexual encounters. And maybe if I had not seen that application being used by a fellow soldier, I would have never went ahead and downloaded it myself, or who knows how the fuck things happen. But that's a fork in the road. That was a fork in the road for me and my first exposure to what now we consider modern day dating.
You look, in harsh facts, it's just the reality of the world. Attractive people have life a lot better, but you can do things to increase your chances out there. So I'm not going to be the guy who says, oh yeah, go and become Mr. Olympia and all that sort of thing, but he admitted it. He said he was fat, he's a nerd. You can work on yourself. I'm not saying change your personality or anything, but you can change how you physically look, and humans are creatures who first look at the visual before they want to get to know someone. Just the way it goes, male and female. But I'll talk about one thing. So a lot of these guys, they twist themselves inside out that they haven't had a girlfriend. Like having a girlfriend is the pinnacle of life achievement. And I can understand why, because like any guy, I remember being young and coming around with my first girlfriends and my first experiences with women. They were like angelic beings. They were like a mythical creature, and you were lucky to be able to talk to them, and you did what you could to not stuff it up, and you got nervous around them and scared around them because it was a whole new world. But then when you get girlfriends and you see what it's actually like behind that curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, right? You pull the curtain across and Wizard of Oz isn't this big malevolent being. He's a little dweeb on a screen, right, with a camera. And yeah, this isn't what I thought it was. It's just, this is exactly the same. So I'm not a men going their own way guy. I very much enjoy the company being around women. I like women, have women in my life. So I'm not a guy who's not out there. But what I'm trying to tell you is, you guys out there, you might not have a lot of experience. Women are a lot of work. Most women are going to be work, and even the ones that are great and easy to get along with, you're going to have your moments with them. It's just human nature, okay? So a lot of guys, I think it's a pinnacle of their life. And once they get their first girlfriend, even if they're 35 or 40, or they get that wife or whatever it is, they've caught a unicorn. And life is going to be perfect, and life is going to be a dream. But a lot of you guys out there could probably resonate with it is, before you got married or before you got engaged and all that sort of stuff, you might have thought the same way. And then you do get married. You do get and live de facto, and you might not do that with the right person. A lot of guys pick the wrong woman, the first woman that they get on the hook who might be open to committing and all that sort of thing. Guys jump on it because there's a scarcity mindset. So a lot of guys marry the wrong women, myself included. And so you have a horrible time. You're just not enjoying your life, and you just go, what the hell? I thought it was supposed to be this amazing pinnacle that I've been working towards, thinking that was, the achievement. It was not the achievement that society has told me it was. It's like this big lie. And the many men are living a life in a silent prison, not being able to talk about it. Because if you talk about it and say that you're not enjoying married life or life with your girlfriend, there's something wrong with you. But I digress. But the point I'm trying to make is, sometimes not experiencing something can be a blessing too. But I can understand the unknown and the allure of women and feeling like a loser because you can't get one, and guys think getting a root is just the best thing in the world. And it is when you're a young bloke, and maybe the first few times when when you do experience it. But really, the things that we do for it, the decisions we make, the sacrifices we make, the commitments we make to get access to it, definitely not worth it most of the time. I can tell you that, especially when you got a CUNT of a person attached to that vagina that you are so badly wanting to get into.
There's a lot to unpack here, so making this as brief as possible while addressing some of the key points, such as guys will settle, they'll FOMO in, fear of missing out. When a girl does come along, they'll take her for all her flaws, and there's this connotation going around that, yeah, that's a good thing for women to have flaws, and they need to be accepted, and for you as a man to have boundaries and set things in place. Well, that's a negative connotation. You're not allowed to do that. But somehow, on the other hand, women are allowed to set the bar up here when their level is indeed down here. Guys, I think having a relationship is a very significant thing for a man's development. I didn't have my first serious one until I was around 24, 25. And I look back at that with a lot of lessons learned, even though that ended in a train wreck. If it hadn't, and I could probably make a 30-minute video alone of that entire relationship unpacked. But I could have put myself in a position to settle if certain expectations were met, because honestly, my bar was not set that high in terms of my expectations. One of my biggest problems with this said person, for all the things that they did right and however good they were to me, in patches. They also put me through a hell of a lot when I was already dealing with a hell of a lot around 2014, 2015. And this person couldn't meet my minimum boundaries, my minimum standards. For context's sake, those minimum standards were getting in shape. And I'm not asking for, you know, athletic Gymshark builds here. I was simply saying get to a healthy weight, because this woman was morbidly obese, and by any chance she's watching this video 10 years later, I hope that is the case. I got nothing negative to say about this person now, but my expectation was, especially with how fit, and even though psychologically I wasn't at my healthiest, physically I was pretty close to any sort of peak that I would fail to replicate even now. I wanted her to get to a certain weight, reduce her intake of calories, and I put up with it for well and truly over 18 months. And then, to bluntly put it, I was unattracted to the person physically. For all the good things, there is still, there wasn't enough there for me to be, this camera focus is so good. There wasn't enough there to keep the relationship afloat, because it was my first relationship. I lacked a lot of communication skills. I couldn't eloquently address things as well as I could perhaps now. Couldn't articulate myself. I struggled to have any kind of understanding, meet on the same page, as they say, find common ground. And then the relationship ended up falling through. But the key point of why now I've been speaking about this since the last cut for 4 minutes is that relationships, even though they might end in a ball of flames, are still vital for your personal development as a man. And if you do have your first serious relationship as a man at around the age of 35, you don't have the experience. You won't have the know-how, the communicative abilities. You'll have a lot of holes in your game, so to speak, a lot of gaps. You, simply put, won't have the know-how of navigating certain situations, arguments, conflicts, conflict resolution skills, and impulse control. You won't even fathom the concept of compromise. You won't compromise, you'll just simply be pushed over. You'll be walked over. You won't know when and where and how to set boundaries. Those are all things that even relationships that end in total train wrecks teach you as a man. And the later you learn them, the more you will suffer. You can, as G-Man's putting it here, get married to a CUNT, get married to the wrong person because you think you found a unicorn. You'll be lacking a lot of interpersonal relationship skills. You start going down all those routes of coaching and counseling and trying to find answers when you didn't have natural progression. It's like you're starting a video game from fucking halfway through. You're starting a TV show that's got 9 seasons from season 6. You got a lot of catching up to do, and that's where relationships are handy for men to have at an earlier age. Now, I'm emphasizing here relationships. Just because you hooked up with a chick from a bar, right, and it felt good when she was vice gripping your fucking balls, that don't count. I'm talking about actually having had an established monogamous relationship that lasted for at least 6 months, but well and truly over a year. So you went through that roller coaster. You had those pitfalls. You had those highs. All right, you created a bond. And yes, even experiencing lows, significant lows with your partner and coming out the other side is a bonding experience. Is a way to test one another's mettle in a relationship.
Just one of those alone would be bad enough, but all three at the same time, no. But of course, at the time, I didn't realize this. Me, my fat, nerdy, socially awkward 13-year-old self, asked 2 girls out. They didn't say no, but they did say worse than no. The first girl said I just threw up in my mouth, which that was a real self-esteem booster. The second girl started crying, told a teacher, and the teacher made me apologize. I had to apologize for asking a girl out. Now that is a special level of hideousness right there. And when I got a little bit older and got into high school, my situation didn't really improve either, because it became a lot more normal for, people my age to have girlfriends and stuff, and it just wasn't happening. Like, even the other ugly, nerdy, unpopular girls weren't into me. For example, there was this one girl who I went to high school with. She was very, very fat. She was as fat as I was. Her and I, we were like the 2 fattest kids in school. And all the kids in school used to joke that her and I should date just because, I don't know, we're both so fat, and people who are ridiculously fat should date, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't think a bed could support the both of us unless it was made out of titanium or something. So I don't know. But people were joking.
Hey, it's good. He can have a laugh at himself, and look, he's doing it with grace. But you can understand how a lot of guys can get turned off. I had bad experiences as well as a teenager. You finally build up the courage to ask a girl out, or do it in a roundabout way. You just get absolutely crushed. Or you go to a house party and a girl that you had a crush on from school or something hooks up with some other dude right in front of you. Like, we've all had things like that happen to you. Really knocks the wind out of you, and you can get a bad taste in your mouth about it. And you don't want to feel that way again, so you stay away from them. That's what happens to a lot of guys. And some guys take the negative and the easy way out by not having a crack when they're young. I can understand guys who go and get married and divorced, get rinsed twice through family court. I can understand them saying that they're men going their own way. But for me, young kids who are 15 or 16 and they say, yeah, I'm a man going their own way, to me it's just a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah, it's crazy. 15, 16, men going their own way. I got a brother who is around that age. He's going to be finishing high school soon, and he's trying to be a professional sportsman. Now, we don't particularly speak about the topic of girls, but when we last did, I heavily emphasized to him to not worry about it. I said the women will still be there, bro. After you turn pro, whether you're playing in the National Basketball League or for the National Basketball Association over in the States, they'll still be there when you're 25, when you're 35, and you can handsomely retire with a fucking shit ton of money if you make it, even by the time you're 30. And you'll still find any woman, as far as strictly aesthetics are concerned, wherever the hell you want, man. Whether it's over there or over here, over in Europe, you'll be matching with all of them if you want to talk about the concept of dating apps. But when boys start saying men going their own way, you don't know shit about shit. If you're already starting to deflect the whole concept of relationships because women are like this and girls are like that, yeah, society has changed and girls have become like that. You don't see girls sleeping with 1,000 dudes being flaunted back when I was a teenager, even when I was in my mid-20s. It was completely taboo and unheard of. Let alone I speak for all the millennials. When our parents were growing up, you'd be publicly shamed and bullied into the dust if word got out that you are unfaithful to your husband, to your family, let alone now that it's touted to get a facial, again, vilely putting it, from 1,000 dudes and then going and walking the streets. It's monetized. It's all good. So women's behavior has changed a lot, and I put that to the fathers of those women. A lot of men have lost the concept of commitment and responsibility as well. It's not solely a one-way street that women are to blame for the way they turned out. Quite a lot of fathers don't take ownership and don't direct their daughters' course of action and life choices. But if you're a teenager, don't be speaking women need men got to go their own way. You can still interact with girls, but again, depending on what you want, in my brother's case, having used him as an example, what you want is a professional career in sport. And at that age, that teenage age, it will hinder that progress. It will be a burden. It will be a distraction. Something that you don't need in those years. Right now, strictly speaking, these later teenage years, 17, 18, 19, emphasis on the teen, the breakout years, relationships, catching feelings, as they put it, will only hinder you and be a distraction. But if you're, on the contrary, a dude who's finished high school and you're going to uni, whilst it can still be a distraction, engaging in a relationship, as I mentioned before, even one that turns into a ball of flames, depending on your ability to critically analyze and think, you can still take something positive from a negative experience. I'm not talking to the guys here who have gone through family courts and divorced. That's a negative experience I'm sure that we can all fucking go without.
And so this is not a dig at anyone who lives that lifestyle. But if you're doing that as a 16-year-old, I really would question whether it's a choice or you've been relegated there, so to speak.
About me and her dating and whatnot. And one day, she walks up to me. Before I had a chance to say anything, she says, "David, I just want you to know that I find you disgusting and I would never date you." Aww. And she walked away. So, yeah, once again, another self-esteem booster right there. The fattest and one of the most unpopular girls in school thought I was disgusting.
Right, and young women, and I'm not even going to say young women, most women out there can be the biggest CUNTs possible. Here's a bit of a word of advice for you, gents. Don't take them seriously. Don't take any sort of emotional outbursts, what do you call it? Hysterical outbursts and behaviour seriously and pander to any of that. Don't listen to it. A lot of men are sensitive, even though we don't admit it, and they'll say horrible, deep-cutting things. This guy remembers it from probably 20 years ago. Don't take him seriously, gentlemen.
Yeah, catch feelings, as I put it. So if you've already caught feelings, words can cut you pretty deep coming out the mouth of someone that you have those feelings for. I've been cut pretty deep at times. Now, I wouldn't even say that those things scarred me, but depending on how you want to incorporate the term, I still remember it, so in a way maybe it is a scar. But I have had hurtful things said to me. I have had, and you'll hear this from women, I just want you to be vulnerable. Tell me about yourself. And when you actually do show that vulnerability, little do you know that, like the police say, anything you say and do may be used against you or given in evidence. Yeah, well, anything you say and do, by that I'm implying have an emotional outburst, perhaps start crying. They might empathize with you in the moment, but 6 months, 1 year later, it may and potentially will be used against you. And then that can be the real scarring thing about the whole experience. Wow. Like, you're resorting to that. But as G-Man puts it here, it's all just words. It's really all just words, and if anything, it's a reflection of their character. And it should be a really eye-opening experience hearing and seeing that kind of an outburst, that kind of a deflection of something that was highly personal and sensitive to you being thrown back in your face.
My senior year of high school, I decided to go on a big self-improvement kick. I lost the weight. I got myself a job at Walmart. From that job at Walmart, I greatly improved my social skills. Things were going good. I even started to date a little bit. The thing is, these dates didn't really go anywhere, which didn't really bother me at the time because it's like, whatever. But I got a little bit older. I got a much better job in my early 20s, which I'm still working at today. I started going on even more dates, and they also went absolutely nowhere. The women who I dated kind of thought of me as just like the funny friend for the most part.
Good old funny friend who I'm sure he's paying for the bills, Mr. Nice Guy, the guy who's probably opening the car door. He's turning up to the date with the heart-shaped box and the chocolates. They go and see him and they go, he was all right, I guess. He was a bit of entertainment for the evening. See him as a nice guy who was pleasant enough. But nothing's going to happen there. He drops her off and then they jump on the phone. Probably back then it would have been the Nokia 5110. And they would have had a good old Brycey over there laughing about this guy, and then this guy probably would have paid for the takeaway. She goes, "Oh, look, I'm a bit hungry actually. Can I get a takeaway? Fettuccine carbonara in a takeaway container?" And good old Brycey would be eating that after slamming the bird he paid for dinner for. You guys think you're going to say to me, I don't know, this is a joke. You guys going to say, "Nah, that stuff doesn't happen, mate. That stuff doesn't happen. You're out there. You're just saying this shit." I've been the guy who's ate the pasta and heard this exact thing.
But some of the women I dated, they just kind of thought I was repulsive and they couldn't even stand being around me. They couldn't even see me as like a friend. And I get it, I'm awkward and annoying and stuff. And then also another problem with me is because I don't really have a whole lot of experience doing like physical stuff, like making out and whatnot. So when we started doing stuff like that, I had no idea what I was doing. It was just really...
Dude, mate, you know what you need to learn? You need to get on Bang Bros. Would have been Bang Bus. That would have been like 20 years ago. That would have been when it's in its prime. Mate, I had that. Napster, LimeWire. I had all the episodes downloaded. I should be on an ASIO watch list with how many episodes I had downloaded. That's how you learn. It's training. It's a training ground. But seriously, you can learn some things off there. What happens? Can't be that naive. Come on, dude. If you watched all that stuff, you'd be putting them up on the Lex Luger torture rack on the first date. It's just the way they like it. One in the pink, two in the stink, as I say, or two in the pink, one in the stink, depending on which way they roll. Learn that from Bang Bros. That's what happens out there.
Awkward and weird and uncomfortable for the both of us.
Look, one thing that isn't spoken about nearly enough is not even Napster. The fuck is Napster, G-Man? LimeWire, I know. It ain't even about watching Jenna Hayes and Lisa Ann getting plowed and where the fingers go. There's a degree of fitness that is required of you as a man to perform such acts. Let's just call it a level of stamina that you need to possess. So it's not just the know-how, and quite a lot of men not only suffer with performance anxiety because they've already psyched themselves out beforehand with lacking self-confidence. For example, when they... Camera fucking focus! Yeah, you want to focus when I raise my fucking damn voice? Is that what gets you going? They'll lose their erection when they take their shirt off because they're already lacking confidence within themselves. Now they know that, this is what, they'll start having these racing thoughts of, oh, what does she think of my junk? What does she think of the way I look? If you're not too confident in the way you look, and like I've gotten like pretty skinny. Like, I've got no pump. I don't give a shit, bro. But if you aren't, like, it's not about how you look. You can look pretty average. But if you're not confident about the way you look when this comes off, you're going to struggle to maintain an erection and have sustained arousal. When you're on top, pumping, and if you start having these racing thoughts about your own performance, it's just going to hamper it. You're going to struggle. And what are the statistics? Like 1 in 5 men, if not 1 in 3, actually do have erectile dysfunction. And 1 in 2, so like 50%, have below baseline levels of testosterone, and it's declining by 1% every year. If you're out of shape, if you are, people will say BMI is bullshit because BMI doesn't take account muscle mass. I actually don't think BMI is bullshit at all. Because just because you've got a shit ton of muscle doesn't mean you're healthy either. Just because you've got a shit ton of muscle doesn't mean you have athletic performance. I ain't even about the bodybuilding lifestyle anymore. I'm actually all about the athletic performance. I don't give a damn if I can lift 200 kgs on a deadlift or not for 1 repetition. I'd rather be able to sustain significant output for hours. But I'm not going to make this a fitness video, simply bringing it back to sexual encounters. If you're lacking confidence in your appearance, and you are lacking physical fitness or a degree of it, of course it's going to be an awkward experience. You're expected to pump. You're expected to pump hard with what you got. And if you can't sustain that and control your racing thoughts, even though initially you had deep desires and urges, but now the thoughts are racing because your belly's hanging and your tits are jiggling, bro, this is going to be hard to pump with even with what you got.
So these dates just didn't go anywhere, and it was really frustrating. In 2012, I put together a big all-expense-paid vacation for me and several of my online friends to go to Chicago. I paid for the whole thing, everyone's plane tickets, the hotels, everything. It costed me over $8,000. And
what? Paid for my online friends to go to Chicago? So they're people that you hadn't even met?
The reason why I did this was because I wanted to impress a girl who was one of my online friends. And, you know, I had had a crush on her for a long time. You know, we had been really close. She was one of those cute, nerdy girls, kind of tomboyish, but I thought she was gorgeous. She was just really funny, had a really sharp sense of humor. I find that really attractive in women, to have a sharp sense of humor. And I felt like she got me in a way that nobody else really did because, like me, she was autistic. So I thought we had that, you know, sort of bond there. And
Okay, now that explains a lot of the stuff that he's been talking about. But yeah, guys always think, you know, let's leave at the wallet, let's pay for stuff. The more you pay for things, the more the girl might like you. That's what we've trained about, right? That's what guys are told. Gentleman pays for things. The gentleman provides experiences. The gentleman takes the woman out for nice dinners, dates, picnics, all that stuff from the movies, all bullshit. I can tell you now, if a girl likes you, you don't need to do any of those things. And if she doesn't like you, she'll let you do them, but it's not going to change her mind to like you. So if you think you're going on a date and maybe things aren't going the way you might think, and you go, you know what, I might just, maybe after this I'll take her out for some nice cocktails and I'll really show her that I'm well put together and I've got money and that I'm a gentleman. Not going to change her mind, mate. Just cut your losses right there and then. All right, halfway through, guys. If you're enjoying the content in my rants today, please sub to the channel, aiming for 15k subs, so be a part of that, press that button. And guys, the best way to help me out is either to check out the Patreon, link in the video description, or alternatively, watch my video straight to the end, like, comment, all that sort of shit that everybody else says on YouTube, because it does help.
I really wanted to, impress her and win her over. So I put together this big trip. I flew 5 people up to Chicago, and I live close to Chicago, so I just took an Amtrak. And the first night of the trip, the girl who I wanted to impress just randomly just pulled me into the bathroom and started making out with me.
Yep, that's it right there. The $8,000 USD just paid for itself.
I was not expecting it. She just started making out with me. And I almost lost my virginity that night. But I didn't go that far. We were in the bathroom of the hotel room, and all our friends were sitting right outside. So I didn't want them to hear. So I just kind of assumed that I would have an opportunity later. So I was like,
you should have been doing these ones. Clap, clap, clap for everyone to listen to. Poor guy, very naive. A lot of these kinds of guys out there. I know this guy's autistic, but it's to say that a lot of men out there who don't understand how women operate in the slightest.
Okay, yeah, we're not doing this right now, but hopefully later. So, but I felt great. I felt amazing. I'm like, oh, I finally got the girl. And I was on cloud 9 for the next day. Yeah, the next day I was feeling pretty great. And then that night, the girl who I wanted to impress had sex with one of the other guys on the trip while I was in the room.
Oh, no.
While you were in the room, for a guy that was your online friend, so you had met him for the first time too. So she met him for the first time as well, then, I'm assuming. Hey man, $8,000 for hooking up in the bathroom for I'm about to smash this fucking camera. I have not seen it this bad. It's fucking autistic camera.
But in saying that, she doesn't owe him anything. She owes him nothing. It wasn't like they were an item. He went, led with his wallet, paid for 5 people to go there. So he's paid for a guy to also join on this holiday. Why would you get your male friends to go? Is it it's a bit of a ruse? It's an online gaming thing. Well, I'll bring you guys all there in person, and then he's thinking he can weasel in. This weasel stuff doesn't work. That backfired, didn't it? Paid $8,000, and I'm going to let him off the hook because he's autistic. But he paid $8,000 for some guy to bang the chick that he was interested in and spent $8,000 to try and get there. His little scheme backfired completely, poor bastard.
It's one of my least popular videos, but I even made an entire topic on why some men might choose to hire an escort. And it pertains to this bloke right here. Why some guys might choose to go down the road of paying for an escort. I'm not talking about hiring a prostitute to suck you off and vice grip your junk necessarily. Why some men will pay for the experience, the girlfriend experience, which can include the total package. Bit of jazz hands there for you to the next transition. But in this case, he spent more money than he would have on a girlfriend experience for, I will argue, about with one of the higher ups on the tier list, premium service girls here in Australia. You'd get about 3 proper dates for $8,000 with one of the top tier ones at that. It wouldn't be some cute gamer girl, as he's putting it here. You get premium pussy for $8,000. 3x.
$8,000 to hear the girl of my dreams get railed by another guy. Fantastic. What happened was a couple years later, when I was about 26, I kind of went through a dark phase where I got really into drinking. I was drinking, getting drunk pretty much every day. I was drinking Caliber vodka, which is like the shittiest, cheapest, bottom shelf vodka you can get. But it's cheap and it gets you drunk fast, so that's why I drink it. So I would drink that every day. I would eat pretty much nothing but junk food. Like, my diet was probably 80% pizza, and I'm not exaggerating. I would chain smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and I did this every day for about...
That's some serious durry punching, 2 packs of darts. I mean, come on, what girl's going to go for him if he smells like an ashtray? Like, that is excessive smoking. You would reek. Your house would stink. You would stink. And then smashing pizza. So obviously he's gotten himself together somewhat since those days. People say, don't judge. Oh, you're to judge. Come on. If you're going to live a lifestyle like that, don't expect to get girls in your life. Don't expect girls to be attracted to you in any way.
Oh, I don't think he's actually saying that this is the part where he was trying to get girls. He's even described it as his like dark phase, where he was drinking bottom shelf vodka and eating nothing but pizza. So I'm going to take a stab here at the fact that he was going through his ASD symptoms, the autism spectral disorder, and he was dealing with offhand depression, other comorbidities, generalized anxiety disorder, psychologist in me kicking in. But there was a period there where he was quite heavily afflicted by his mental health disorders, and during that time, taking a stab, he was not even seeking out women. He was just surviving. That's that kind of mental state that I've found myself in once upon a time. And speaking from my own lived experience, you are simply fighting to survive when you experience that kind of plethora of blue emotions. You get caught up in such deep states of despair and apathy that front and center, the only thing you are really trying to do is feel something. You will go out and crash your car just to feel okay. And you're not seeking any kind of pleasure or even validation, let alone encounters with women. You just want to get to the next day. And for a lot of men that experience these deep pitfalls, they don't even know how to pull themselves out. So if that's what the case was, G-Man, he could give two fucks about how he smelled, because he could give two fucks if he didn't make it through the night, most likely. It's good to see that he can acknowledge that, and he has pulled himself out of such a place.
You smell like shit. You look like shit. What do you expect?
I love the way that just cut. You smell like shit. You look like shit. What do you expect?
About 5 years. Every day I would get off work, I would go home, get drunk off the cheap vodka, chain smoke, eat the junk food, and I was just not taking good care of myself. I gained over 150 pounds, and I'm not exaggerating. I had to wear old people diapers to bed because I kept pissing myself.
Wow.
I would go months without bathing. I would go months without brushing my teeth. I got periodontal disease because I took such poor care of my teeth. I was just a mess. I was going into work hungover, and it was just not good. It was just not good. I was not taking care of myself. And I did this, from the age of 26 to 30. I refer to that era as my drinking days.
Yeah, I don't believe him. He said he was going into work, and he went on for about 4 years. Let me tell you this much. When I had my drinking days, you weren't going anywhere. You weren't even thinking about buying diapers to piss and shit in them, because you just fucking piss and shit all over yourself because you're fucked. Police would literally rock up to your house because people would be calling in welfare checks, and you wouldn't last so much as 4 months if you are as heavily drinking as he's emphasizing, because you'd simply die from cardiac arrest or alcohol withdrawal related delirium tremens when you stop, because you physically can't consume alcohol and you can't leave your house to purchase it. And even if you try and get it delivered, you would be on a blacklist because you wouldn't even be able to get to the front door to get it delivered in the first place. That is a drinking error. That is something that I've lived. I know well and truly significant details. And yeah, I've changed the tie because I'm getting back into recording this video. I went on my fucking day. But this is such a cop-out that he was going through a drinking era. Man, even with the new fucking attire and the 11, fuck, what is, it's like 2 a.m. 2 a.m. And I don't even give a shit about cutting the video. That was a drinking error for me, man. You couldn't talk, you couldn't walk, you couldn't see, and all you'd be doing is having multiple seizures, completely legless and paralytic. There's no going to work, even if someone's driving you to work, because there is no functioning outside of your bedroom. You cannot walk, you cannot get dressed. Like, it's not funny. But for 4 years, he's saying that went on, you would die. You would die. Take it from me, from the heaviest alcoholic in the world. That's how bad my mental health problems were when I got out of the army. So when people start talking, I've made this now a tangent because it didn't rub me the wrong way, but it's really emphasized that it was a very heavy drinking error because I was pissing and shitting in diapers, but somehow still going to work. Like, you see how that doesn't make sense? You are that paralytic to the point where you can't function to get up and control your bowel movements and go to the toilet, which would be meters away, but you're somehow going to work. You see how that doesn't line up and sit right with me? So you weren't drinking as heavily as you think you were. You maybe were just a fat, lazy piece of shit that actually preferred to piss and shit in diapers, as opposed to being unable to go to the... I can't find the right words, and I can't be fuck cutting the video. Fuck YouTube in general.
So if you ever hear me refer to my drinking days, I'm referring to that era. But anyway, one day when I was 30, I was starting to develop some chest pains. I went to the doctor, and he took my blood pressure and did some other stuff and asked me some questions. And he point blank told me, "Yeah, you're going to be dead by 40 if you don't start making some serious life changes." That was pretty terrifying. And what made it...
And that's the thing with guys. Guys will knock themselves around and then start trying to get healthy once it's too late. I know a couple of guys like this, and they've been through like quite traumatic things, bad divorces, alienation from their children, and so they lean on the bottle, lean on smoking. Like this guy, heavy smoking, excessive smoking to the point of where it's just like 2-3 packs a day type stuff.
I'll just interject with this. Certain vices grip people stronger than others. I smoked a pack a day easily for years. When I first enlisted, I was a non-smoker. I'm pretty sure after basic training, I was in the smokers club. And then after I left, I think I smoked for maybe 3-6 months. Once I stopped, I kind of went back in the security industry. You'd smoke out the front as the night's wrapping up. It's got a lot to do with the crowd you also surround yourself with, the kind of lifestyle you want to lead, and the kind of values you fucking have, or you don't. I've spoken about this in so many other videos where people probably don't have the patience to listen, but if it doesn't align with the kind of lifestyle and the kind of man you ultimately want to be, if you don't make it a habit, discipline equals freedom, commitment is key, you will continue to fucking smoke. If you just tell yourself that it's my New Year's resolution that I'm not going to punch durries anymore, you're going to fucking punch durries, because that kind of a mindset where you set yourself a task because of a certain date rather than try and impede and impose upon yourself a total lifestyle shift, the kind of mindset to try and put a fixed date on a permanent change that you want to envelop isn't going to be sufficient enough to make that change. And as far as G-Man saying it can be too late, unless you're terminally ill, and even then I have heard of people being diagnosed, told that they're terminally ill, and saying, fuck all that noise, I'm going to live, and they beat whatever it is that they were terminally ill with. It's too late when you're dead. Otherwise, I don't think it's too... You know how many people wrote me off? Wrote me off to ever bouncing back? It's pretty funny that the list would be enormous. If you looked at like a win predictor, it would have said 99% chance lose. This guy is going to die. If you asked all of my ex-girlfriends at one stage or any stage of the relationship, there'd be a time where they'd reflect and tell you that, yeah, I thought he was going to die. All of them. All three of them. There'd be a time where they could point out that win predictor, 99%, he is not just fucked, he's dead. And I'm not saying, well, look at me now. But there has been a radical shift in my own experiences where people have left me for dead, where they wrote me off. There's some friends that, I thought they were friends, gave me ultimatums, and I didn't meet their ultimatum expectations, and they thought, well, there's no hope for him. Then I 360 flipped, and here we are. I've spoken again about this in other videos, where I fight my daily wars every single damn day. Where people no longer talk to me because they wrote me off in the past, and now they can't look me in the eye and think, holy shit, he's still here, he's still hung around. I really thought that last trip to the hospital was it. So it's never too late while you still draw breath and your heart still beats. It's not too late if you're 100 pounds or 200 pounds overweight. About 5 months ago, I couldn't do a single pull-up. Trying to bicep curl so much as a 10 kilo dumbbell, next to impossible. I had DOMs like you haven't heard, cramps, could barely walk 3,000 steps without losing my breath in a day. What got me out of it was committing to change, committing to the task at hand. Again, not going to now turn this into a fitness related video, but you only write yourself off when you put the fucking noose around your neck and you've stepped off the chair. When you're hanging off the edge of the bridge, you haven't wrote yourself off yet either. When you've jumped off the damn bridge is when you've wrote yourself off. But even then you might survive. Now these might sound like some pretty harsh and wayward, straight shooting fucking elements of examples, but I don't think it's ever too late. And if you are one of those men that think, man, I'm beyond saving, I'm beyond help and hope, and I can't turn this around no matter the fuck what I do, I'll never get girls, whether that be the problem, or I'll never be in shape, I'm destined to be obese. What's the quickest option? What's the next injection? Where's the Ozempic at? I made a post about this on social media, the very little bit of social media that I use, showing that I've been dieting, counting my calories for the better part of 145 days. I was obese. According to the BMI, I was 32 on the BMI. Now I'm 25. 25.7 if you want me to be exact, which is overweight, I suppose, by 0.7. Yeah, fair. Fair's fair. I would actually prefer to lose another 3-4 kilos to be in supreme elite shape. But whilst everyone could have had me written off, and you could even have your... That's the last thing you can do. Yeah, that's the best way to sum up this fucking 6-minute point. The last thing that you can do is write yourself off. Because once you've wrote yourself off, that's it. Then you fucking cut your chances. Alright, it's not even a stop loss. You're done when you write yourself off. But even if the entire world has wrote you off, the win predictor says 99% chance that you are fucked with no way to reverse the situation. As long as you believe it in yourself, as cliche as this may sound, don't worry about what he said, what your mum said, what G-Man said, what the fuck I said. You're still here and you still think that there's a fucking slim millimeter chance for you to pick yourself up off the fucking floor, to even dig yourself up and out from the underground. If you believe it, you can dig yourself fucking out. You can change your life around. But if you wave the white flag, concede that I'm obese and I'm depressed, give me the diagnoses, put pen to paper, chuck me on the Ozempic and the metazapine, olanzapine. How about something for my sleep too? Maybe something for my generalized anxiety disorder. How about some Relanium? Then you've conceded and you are fucked. Once you concede that you're fucked, no one's going to come along and give you the shovel and start digging for you to unfuck yourself out from the underground.
Running yourself into the ground, eating shit as well, and getting fatty livers and fatty kidneys or whatever it is, and getting so far out of shape and so far feeling unhealthy and shit about yourself. The mental health, these people's health, mental health suffers, and they really struggle to dig themselves out to make improvements. And generally it all stems from like traumas and things with women, like this guy. So the girl that he liked went and banged some dude right in the same room as him, traumatized him, and he's taken it to heart and just knocked himself around for 4 years to the point where he's almost killed himself. And this sort of proves my point. The point that I was talking about earlier at the start of this particular video, where I was saying a lot of guys just don't understand how much work and stress women can be. You can get this nice little, it's like a little doll or something, and it just speaks when you speak to it, and you have sex, and life's good, and it just does all nice things for you and living the dream. But he's sort of seen firsthand what women can get up to. I'm hoping he's learnt. Let's see what he has to say for the rest of the video.
Even more terrifying is that two really close online friends of mine around this time had died in their 30s doing the same things I was doing. The first friend of mine who died was extremely overweight, like 600-pound life size. I mean, Dr. Now would have had a field day with this guy. You know, he got really big and it just killed him. You know, he was in his early 30s too. My other friend, also in his 30s, was a massive alcoholic. He ended up dying of liver failure. Yeah, so I took that news from my doctor of me being told point blank that I'd die at 40. I saw my friends dying. Well, I didn't see them dying, but you know, them dying.
Why didn't you see them dying? Especially the guy with liver failure. Liver failure doesn't fucking kill you overnight. Alcoholic hepatitis is a slow and agonizing process. You best believe I know. So when he was dying because he got on a transplant list and I suppose didn't get a suitable donor, why weren't you with him there at the end? It can really change your life perspective, seeing that sort of shit up close, especially when it's related to you and the kinds of actions and the life you're leading. You see your friend all yellow in the fucking whites of the eye, swollen to the fucking max. Oh, he's ballooning. He's got... Doesn't matter. Well, it matters, but I can't find the words for the definition where you start retaining water in your belly and your belly swells quite literally like a balloon because of the amount of bilirubin. No, that's to do with the yellows of the eyes. Ascites. You should be there for your friend and watch him pass away to really hammer the point home that, yeah, this is going to be my fucking destiny if I don't change my shit. And by the looks of him, he's very barely changed his shit.
With that news, it really set off the alarms in my head. Ever since then, I've just tried to have a new and positive outlook on life because
Good stuff, man.
the thing about life is, yeah, it sucks sometimes and it's annoying and, you know, it can be unfair, but...
Life is very difficult for men. A lot of men don't talk about it, but we're under constant stress, most of us. Constant stress. You're dealing with stress from work, study, family commitments, a wife or a girlfriend, keeping them happy, maintaining all of that, some easier than others. Keeping up with finances, you know, keeping food on the table. Life's hard. Very, very hard, you know, for a lot of men out there. Interesting video this guy's shown. I wouldn't say this story would be overly that uncommon. So guys having a horrible experience and not getting girlfriends or having girlfriends by the age of 40 and 35 and things like that. Not everyone meets women. But I think it's good that he doesn't hate them as well, because the guys can go the other way, become very disillusioned, very disgruntled, I would say understandably, and they never get over that. They go into that red pill rage. And red pill rage for a lot of guys can be permanent. I think a lot of guys go through it when they have a hard time. But I think it's good this guy's come out of it.
Yeah, has he though? Has he come out of it? What trauma? This online chick, so the first time he's meeting her basically, is what I'm understanding. To really rein in this entire fucking weak ass story. He meets girl for first time IRL. Hooks up with her in the bathroom. He says there was 8 people. Or 7 others. So what? Were the other 6 all guys? Were there any other girls? He spent $8,000. Did he have 2 rooms? 3 rooms? 1 room and all 8 were in the 1 room? And had to share beds? I can tell you this much. You best believe she was about to get dicked down in cream pie if she proactively approached this online friend of yours and got into his bed. He says he was awake while he was getting cucked. He was getting actively cucked. He was aware of the cuckification of his soul in that moment, which means it had to have led to that somehow. She didn't just teleport, didn't do the fucking grudge where the grudge appears in the blankets. She didn't just appear in there. She actively, before going to sleep, before all the lights went out, would have been like to the online fucking other fat nerd, hey, can I sleep in your bed tonight? And he would have been like, yeah, you can. And this dude would have been just there like, oh, my heart is already breaking. You'd best believe he would have known that, yeah, I'm about to get an education in cuckoldry. Because she would have proactively, while the lights were still on, asked the other dude if I can get in your bed. It's not like she just went from her own bed into the other bed. And if she did do that, should have taken your chance in the bathroom. That's the only one you had. But fuck, even then, he's going on like trauma. Like, what kind of trauma what did you expect? Clearly this gamer girl, tomboy-esque-ish girl that you were attracted to, I'm guessing odds are the other 6 guys found her attractive as well. You actively chose to bring competition along. Well, what the fuck were you thinking? Alright, if I had other dudes 6'5" tall, I'm now going to reverse like the roles and put myself in this scenario. I had other 6'5", 6'4", 6'2" dudes. Alright, I just watched the tennis. I got fucking Holger Rune is coming along with me. I got Kekmanovic, Daniil Medvedev, bunch of other fucking blokes, professional athletes, and we're all going on this trip and we're bringing a hot chick along with us. But she's my dream girl. She's not necessarily their dream girl. I'm bringing fucking stiff competition. Especially since the girl doesn't even know she's my dream girl. Like, yeah, you best believe that now with 6 other dudes vying for her attention, if she's attractive to them, at least anyway, the odds are against me. The odds are not ever in my favor that I'm going to get it. What the fuck were you thinking in the first place? Bringing 6 dudes. So she just got into bed with someone else and she chose you to express the fact that she was horny that night when she just grabbed you, as you said, dragged you into the bathroom to hook up. That's like some movie type shit. You don't even see that in real life. I never fucking saw that in real life working as a security guard for as long as I did. Just girls just dragging other security guards myself and trying to suck them off in the bathroom. But if that's his only like example of I'm a virgin at 35, where I brought fucking other dudes that I had never even met to meet a chick that they had never even ever met, a chick that you had never even met, you already gave yourself like 1 in 100 odds. Especially if the other guys were, even if like 2 of them were fit or better looking than you. And judging by the fact that his hair is clean here, he doesn't even know how to look fucking alright with what he's got. Sorry. Harsh critique. Not sorry. He looks pretty sub 5. Let's be real. As far as like charisma and the kind of energy that he's even giving off, there's just a lot of like fucking even now, like fidgeting and rattling around, but it is not even in like an endearing, enigmatic kind of way. He just looks very below average. And this trauma is a fucking cop-out. It's a load of shit. Not saying that life isn't hard, as G-Man put it. It is. But it is also good to see that he hasn't started to hate women. But men like this need relationships. They need them because he strikes me as the kind of man that he will lock down for good, as best as he can, the next woman that he meets. And she could be way below even his standards. She could be like a 2 out of 10, a 1. But the problem with that is when she sees that she can walk all over him, because you best believe sooner or later even a 1 out of 10 woman will see that she can walk all over you. So that's it. Game over. Lights out. Like I was talking about the win predictor, 99%. If you still believe in yourself, you can turn around. She starts walking all over you. But because you have no relationship experience, you won't even know to stand up for yourself. You won't even know to set boundaries. To be the shot caller as a man in the relationship. You'll just allow yourself to be trampled. And before you know it, your wife, in this hypothetical scenario that I'm painting for you, being his wife, the 1 out of 10, is bringing Tyrone over and saying that you aren't meeting her needs, and now to meet her needs, be a good and endearing husband and get behind the camera while Tyrone gives me BBC. You best believe that can happen too. She'd be like, I've been so unemployed for so long, and Trish down the road is doing it. She's getting her needs met by the local plumber. Good old Tyrese. It can happen. And he'll comply because he doesn't know how to stand up for himself. And he'll think that, yep, well, this is like my one and only shot, and I'll just let her call all the shots. I'll empathize with her, even though it's just fucking absolutely crushing me and tearing me down inside as a man. What's left of my dignity is being completely fucking stampeded. The running of the bulls. I don't know any better. So men like this, they need to get in relationships and they need to experience all the fucking pitfalls of them to really see what it is that you value, the importance of having aligning values. And sometimes you just got to cut the snake off at the head, letting the woman go when you see that she doesn't align with what you stand for. But in the first place, you have to have something that grounds you and you stand for it. You can't just be out there in the market looking for a woman with no fucking moral fiber, any core principles, any kind of established lifestyle. You can't just have hobbies. I like games, I like movies, I like Netflix. This is my favorite band. I like Pantera. How about you? Metallica or Tool? And none of that shit fucking matters. You gotta be a man through action. Be a bit of an enigma. I can even read you some really good quotes that relate to everything that now been saying for almost 10 minutes by Robert Greene, The Art of Seduction. We'll save that for another video, but so far he has no alluring traits. It's like, because he experienced it, a woman landing quite literally in someone else's bed, that now he thinks that, well, maybe, just maybe, one day a woman, the right woman, will end up landing in mine. Just like that. I'll swipe on her, I'll match with her, I'll say, can you come over? We'll watch Transformers and she'll suck me off.
I like life. I figure I'm 35 now. I got another 40-something years, give or take, in front of me. Why not just see what happens? So yeah, I mean, I decided, start eating healthier. Lost the weight. I quit drinking. I quit smoking, and I just try to focus on doing things that I just enjoy and have fun with, like video games and movies and whatnot.
Yeah. See, I fucking knew before you even told me. You look like a guy that enjoys video games and movies and whatnot. That's the thing, you have no fucking style or substance to you. It's on the surface. There's nothing alluring, desirable. And the way he's even portraying this, that he's given up and he's become totally pessimistic, and the polar opposite of the word empowered, that I'm currently not digging out of my top drawer vocab. But he's become quite pessimistic, disheartened, and clearly he's fucking forlorn, in the sense that he wants someone there. No, it's a feeling of being lost and lonely. And as far as I lost the weight comment goes, really? That's like a fucking 4XL shirt, at least 3, and it's fitting tightly on you. Ways to go down the road, friend. Have an identity. Yeah, you watching this as well. Have a fucking identity, man. Who are you? Are you just happy enjoying video games and movies and whatnot? Or does something that you do day in, day out form a basis for who you are in this world, who you are as a man? What's centered around your identity? Which comes back to your core beliefs, values, and principles. They ask you this in Special Forces selection. Write an essay about yourself, your life. What are your principles? And guys will be like, what? This dude right here, I could ask him, what are your core fundamental beliefs? What are your no compromise? Tell me about yourself. What drives you? What is it that you live for? Ask yourself those questions too. And see if you find the answers. Because if you don't, chances are you probably got no style either.
Just try to live a better lifestyle, and not worried too much about things that I don't have, and just try to enjoy the things I do have, which I guess some people would probably see as a cope, which, I mean, if it's a cope, it's a cope, whatever.
It's pretty good cope though, so he's not doing all the things that would knock him around and just about killed him. What would we say here? He has made some improvements, but look, he isn't that bad a looking guy. You could see that if he really trimmed up, probably lost another 10 kilos or so, different haircut, dressed a bit nicer, and then put himself through the gauntlet of maybe going on online dating, maybe he would have a crack. It's a lot of effort though. A lot of guys, well, I can't be stuffed. You can understand why guys like this give up and go the men going their own way route, especially if they've had really bad experiences.
No, I think with everything he's just said, he's simply seeking a means of feeling numb and void of taking that accountability for his lifestyle choices. 10 kilos is an understatement. Like I said, that's a 4XL shirt. Unless he's 6'4", he should be wearing an XL in an ideal shape. So that's at least 25 kilos that he should aim to lose. If he's below 6 foot, he looks like he's got 30 kilos to lose. The haircut is the least of his concerns at the moment, because I just don't see anything that isn't already on the surface. And being polite and gentle, having an overall gentle nature, can make people, women, empathize with you, and then in turn, for someone like him, make you feel supported and that you're connected and that people care about you. But let me paint you a really realistic and blunt picture that no one cares, man. No one cares that you're depressed. No one besides your family, the people closest to you, your current present day loved ones, will give a shit if you start drinking again and then you fucking do die from, as you said, liver failure for your friend. No one will care. They'll empathize for a day or two. Oh man, he was a gentle soul. We'll say this guy's name is, I didn't catch it, David. David was really kind-hearted and empathetic. He was a gentle soul. And they'll forget you, David. Give it a week, they'll forget you. You've got to take your own life by its balls. And this bloke, to me, comes across as someone who has castrated his own goddamn self. Well, I'll just go about it my way, and if it's a cope, it's a cope. You can see how that comes across as a gentle-natured, overall friendly, spirited person. But generally, in my experience, these are the people that are in the deepest part of the blue emotions. Now, let me just refresh my memory. Yeah, glum, in a state of despair, miserable. Pessimistic is one that I used, and now another one's come to mind. They can be, like him, quite vulnerable too. And that comes back to life is tough. Life is tough, especially if you are a gentle yet vulnerable. So gentle is not to be confused with, when people are like, oh, he's a gentle person, they perceive it as weakness because they think because you are gentle, like in my anime video, and kind, that in turn, that also means you are vulnerable. You can be gentle and kind, but that doesn't mean you have to be vulnerable. In a state of blue emotions, showing signs of desperation and despair, being glum, coping. No, you're fucking grounded and you're harnessing your energy. You have your own identity while maintaining those other positive traits, which can make stupid people perceive you as weak. But because you are gentle and kind and you don't like to hurt, because you are approachable and friendly, you help your neighbors with their shopping bags, as a hypothetical example, and you try and be a gentleman and open doors for when you do go on a date. I'm not telling men to be someone that they're not to try and portray an image of themselves that they learned through some fucking online coach. No, be your authentic self. But having positive traits doesn't alleviate you from strengthening your weaknesses. So if you're kind, that doesn't mean that in turn you have to be vulnerable. And if you've been crushed before, that doesn't permit you to walk around with a defeatist style mindset. It doesn't give you permission to feel that you're excluded, that this is the way things are meant to be. It comes back to you've got to grab your own life by the balls. Establish your own identity. And it has to be centered around more things than fucking games and movies. Let me tell you that much. Really find something that you're passionate about. Something that you get up for in the mornings. Whatever it is. Making videos. Writing poetry. Going to acting classes. Fucking even doing an online course, man. But you're committed to doing it. And you're taking something away from it. Turn your passion into a commitment, and in turn your passionate commitment can also be potentially your business, but most importantly it can be part of your lifestyle, which then in turn results to being a significant part of your identity and style.
But how do you change a situation? Sometimes you need to persevere. Going on those dating apps, approaching women, most of the time you're getting rejected. Even the good-looking guys get rejected quite a bit. It isn't like they go on there and straight over bouncing up and down on your schlong in the back of the VN behind a random nondescript cricket field. Straight up. Takes a lot of time and effort. That's why I talk about monster hunting. I put my videos out on monster hunting. If you guys are interested on that, that's called serial womanizing. You can find those on my channel. And I tell you about the pros and the cons and the experiences doing that. So that's a lifestyle that a guy like this wouldn't be able to imagine. But maybe he would be happier for not doing that, because if you are a sensitive person, if you don't have grit and grind, very soul destroying, ego damaging endeavor to jump on dating apps trying to womanize and meet women. And I'll say that's probably one really good aspect of living a particular lifestyle like that is you can build a really thick skin. But once again, I can understand why people don't want to do it. All right, guys, that's probably enough for me on this one. If you've enjoyed this particular talk, let me know in the comments. And once again, if you're new and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It helps me out greatly. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.